diving. Hope comes and stops us in our tracks. Bravely we prove in our striving, trudging together each day. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Raw Recovery, a Trudging Together podcast. My name is Dion Miller, and I'm going to be your host today. Today, I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be a lot of fun because we were talking a little bit before this, and we were already yucking it up. So this is going to be pretty fun. But today we have Jaime Primer on the show. Am I saying your last name correctly?
You are.
Yeah. You know what? I probably shouldn't have given that out, but that's okay.
It's okay.
Try and follow traditions, but so I've been following Jaime for a little bit. Just kind of stuff that she does. You guys know me. I follow people and I go out and I find good speakers. And Jaime is just doing a lot of service work down south, and I wanted to get the word out. She runs SoCo Clubhouse, Southern Colorado. That is not a California thing, guys. That is not SoCal. It is SoCo. And down there, she runs a place called Skateland. Now, is the Clubhouse and Skateland kind of the same thing? Are they in the same building?
They're in the same building, but one's during the week and one's on weekends.
There you go. Okay, that's how it's separated. And then there's something else, and I'm more curious about this than anything, is the Marilyn Monroe tribute artist. What's that?
So I look a lot like Marilyn Monroe.
You do. You got the cheekbones. You do.
Yeah. So I go out and perform. People hire me to perform as Marilyn, and there's two Elvises here that like to bring me with them.
Why not?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was curious about that. So, and thank you very much for taking your time. I know you're busy, so thank you for coming on our show and taking your time with us today. I appreciate it. Yeah. All right. Well, this is the part of the podcast where things feel a little weird. Because there's nothing that really flows. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to turn the show on over to you. Go ahead and share your story. So the spotlight is yours now, hon.
All right. Well, thank you, Dion. I appreciate you and everyone out there. So I basically ended up in Trinidad in Southern Colorado. I was really bad on meth at the time.
Okay.
And I from when I was 11 up, ended up in foster care and kind of bouncing around there, and then ended up with a wonderful foster mom and foster family.
Okay.
But I I started selling marijuana to make money when I was young. And then I kind of moved up from there to transporting it. And, and then I jumped.
Well, Southern Colorado is a pretty big gateway it's a thoroughfare for the drugs to get out to Cali and Utah. And then of course, Kansas and all. Yeah. That kind of covers the Midwest.
But actually, I was in Western Colorado.
Oh, were you?
I was in Glenwood Springs, yeah.
Oh, at least you were in a little bit nicer of a town.
Yeah, I feel responsible.
Now, if you don't mind, if we could pin that for a second, were you born into foster care?
No,
okay.
I was born with my birth parents together.
Okay.
My mother got pregnant with me to try to keep my birth father around, but it didn't work. So after I was born, I was kind of more of a problem.
I get it.
A blessing. And I went bad from there. It just went, I ended up living in Southern California with my mom.
Okay.
And then my birth mother was a beautiful woman, but she liked to choose men over me.
Okay.
And that's kind of how I ended up out of the house and in foster care.
Okay. And I was just curious.
Oh
Figured
yeah,
kind
no,
of
that's
let our
fine. That's
listeners
our
know.
part.
Okay.
I'm an open book. So and then we ended up in Glenwood Springs, but I was actually
Okay.
born in Denver, Colorado.
Where are you?
Because
Good.
Vail didn't have a hospital.
Uh,
I just aged myself.
I'm there with you.
So yeah, so I'm a Colorado native.
Cool.
We ended up, my birth mother ended up being a professor of criminal law.
Wow.
And so, yeah, so it was kind of a nightmare having me for her daughter. Bless her heart. But yeah. But I ended up going through some stuff. And I talk about that just because that's where I came into SoCo Clubhouse. I ended up going through the system, being a victim of the system, and kind of living off survival. I did whatever it took to survive. I worked 3 jobs besides dealing, and I ended up graduating high school at the age of 16.
Yeah, I was going to say, I bet this was all before the age of 20.
Yes. Yeah. I grew up hard and I grew up fast.
Yeah. When you grow up in the system, it's a different lifestyle. If you want seconds, you better eat freaking fast.
Yeah.
I got to enjoy the system for 4 years myself. So
you know.
yeah.
And
it sucked because I would finally get in a place where I was doing well, and then they'd be like, "Oh, it's time to move you." I'm like,
yep.
I just got to level 3 over here. Now I have to start all over again. That drove me crazy, and they wonder why I ran all the time.
That's what I was a runner. I ran constantly.
I'd rather live in a park than your place.
Yeah, for real. For real, I feel you on that. So yeah, it's ugly. And I did end up completely blessed with a really good foster mom.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about her.
She was very, very amazing. She was very good to me. I was actually back at home, and my stepfather had too much to drink, and my stepfather now, he's my biggest supporter. I love him very much.
Yeah.
Was just kind of a clash when I was younger, and he had too much to drink, and the police ended up coming, and they took me. And my foster mom got a witness, my mother just grabbing onto my stepdad, begging him not to leave because they were taking me, because he was ready to leave. And that broke my heart, and it broke my foster mom's heart.
Yeah.
So
that would hurt.
Yeah, that's rough. I still think, I still have a hard time with it. But
there's things that I see, like the day that I went into the court and they told me that I had to start using my legal last name because my parents raised me as Bates, but my legal last name was Miller. And I told the judge, I said, can we just go ahead and change it? So I can continue being Bates. And she said, no, well, you could do that when you're 18. You're a ward of the state. Yeah. And that's when I found out my parents had given up their rights for me. They never even told me. So I feel that one. It hurts, man. And it hurts today. It hurts right now. Yeah.
Yes, it does.
But I deal with my problems differently now. So
yeah, me too. Me too.
So tell us more about your foster mom and what it was like there.
She was very Catholic, and she had kids too. But I remember that first week being there. I had some broken ribs, and she just let me be in her bed, and she would just tell me how much she loved me. And it was she took very good care of me. And all the way up until I was about 30, if I even called my birth mother for advice or help, she would be like, call your Mama Kay. And I'm like, ugh. So she was there for me through everything.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. And yeah, I ended up ruining that relationship with my addictions.
Okay.
But I'm hoping someday to get it back.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
have, but she's good and she's still out there, and I don't blame her. I earned that,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was dealing, and I was selling whatever I could, marijuana, acid, meth, anything, just to
Okay.
pay for my habit.
Yeah.
And I did get off of meth for about 7 years.
Okay.
But I fell into bad pill problems. I
Okay. Yeah.
I traded
And
one
that
for
took,
the other.
yep. And then it's, yeah. That's all we can say is, yeah, we know.
Yeah. And during that time, during the pills, I ended up gaining a lot of weight, and I ended up being
Okay.
about 350 pounds.
Okay.
And so I'd like to let people know that, because I don't think there's anything out there that I haven't been addicted to.
Okay. Well, I was
Food,
going to
pills.
ask is food. Yeah. Even the vice president of Trudging Together is in Overeaters.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And we actually have an Overeaters podcast. I don't
Wow,
do
that's
the, yeah, I'm
awesome.
not the host on that one. Well, the goal is to start covering all the A's, but that's aside
Yeah.
from the point. Yeah. So, yeah, I get that. Pretty much everything I ever touched, I got addicted to. That's why,
Yeah.
and that's why I stayed away from drugs.
It was. I wish I had.
Well, I was taught at a young age what would happen to me when I was 14. So I really learned, and I took it to heart for sure.
I think that's
And that
great.
probably saved my life.
Yeah, for sure. I wish there was more awareness, especially right now, with the
Yeah.
fentanyl and everything.
Oh,
Um,
yeah,
it's bad. So through
it
this
is bad.
whole period, I was drinking like a fish.
Okay.
It never stopped. That never stopped. Like through
Okay.
everything, it never stopped. And there's a lot that I don't remember. I was a blackout drunk, and I did a lot of horrible things. And yeah, it's gross. I got married to an alcoholic.
Okay.
And we were married for a little over 20 years.
Wow.
And it was a mess. We're
Sure.
friends now, but it ended where he ended up giving me brain damage with a brick.
Wow.
I had to learn how to walk and talk again.
Yeah.
But I own my stuff too. I drove him crazy. I took off. I went across the United States. He had no idea where I was.
We have our own parts in it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not saying everybody treated us the best, but I'd have to say I added to it. Heck yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm really glad that he went to prison for a little while, and I ended up trying to walk, talk, everything, but during this time I was still doing meth. So it was a mess. It was very ugly.
That'd make it really hard to do.
Yeah, it was. It was. And I ended up losing everything. My cars, my home, my animals, everything. I ended up on the streets.
Yeah.
Homeless with nothing. And it was gross. And so I had an old friend of mine from high school, and he had a ranch in Kim, Colorado, or his grandparents did. And our plan was to go there and live on the ranch and work the ranch and be sober. But
good plan.
But when we got there, I was withdrawing and coming off of everything, and he was secretly drinking. So it ended up.
The intention was good, though.
I laughed.
It's like the thought that counts.
Yeah. Yeah, it ended up, and I can laugh about this now because this is the biggest thing that changed my life. Is he ended up getting extremely intoxicated, and he beat the tar out of me. And his grandmother drove me to a woman's abused women's shelter here in Trinidad.
Mm-hmm.
I never heard of Trinidad before. And so
it's not a very big town.
Yeah, no. And so it was just, I just had me. I had 2 pugs, my dogs, they're pugs, and
Okay.
and a backpack. And this was about a little over 8 years ago.
Okay.
And so I was in the shelter. My dogs were in the animal shelter because they weren't allowed into the women's shelter.
Yeah.
And even here, I'm not even gonna lie, when I was in that shelter, I got hooked up with drugs.
Mm-hmm. It was
You know,
probably
as
easier
well
to get
as it
them there
was.
than it was on the streets.
Yeah, it really,
Yep.
it truly was.
I
Like,
did a lot of drugs and a lot of pot in group homes.
mm,
In the house.
yeah,
So
yeah.
no, idiots.
Oh, it was, yeah.
Well, when you don't put any screens on the windows, it's not very hard to go do what you want.
Well, in here we had like from 8 in the morning until 7 at night, we could leave.
Okay.
We just had to sign out. And so it made it really easy. And I ended up, because I don't have kids, I could only stay there for 60 days. So during that 60 days, I found work. I started working my butt off. And I met a man that's from Trinidad that he gave me a lot of my work. And he looked at me and he said, if you straighten up, I will help you. But if you're not going to straighten up, I'm not going to have anything to do with you, and you're not going to survive here.
Yeah, sounds like a good boundary.
Yes. And he ended up helping me get into a rental house. And I ended up in the rental house, and I started my quitting. I was like, I'm going to quit. I'm going to do great. I got this on my own. I don't need any, I don't need any help.
I got this. Yeah, I know I know I got this.
Yeah.
Like, he and I are close friends.
Yeah. Like I had been court ordered to AA when I was a kid. And I was just like, I was like, I'm smarter than them, and I don't need that, and I don't want God in my life, and I don't want higher power. Like, I was a buster. I was a total buster.
I haven't heard that in a long time either.
It was bad. So the rental house ended up not belonging to the person that rented it to me. I ended up getting, I can't remember what it's called. But basically living in someone's house when you're not, I'm spacing on the word. Squatting. Yep. So I got kicked out of there, and I had just joined roller derby to try to make some friends and meet people. And I was on the street crying with my two pugs, and I threw my sobriety out the window. I went to the liquor store. I was just hammered. And one of the derby girls came. She saw me on the street, and she came and got me. And asked me what was going on. And she said, "Well, there's an apartment above Skateland. It's filled with furniture. The man that lived there passed away, but you're more than welcome to move in there. But I don't really know if it's livable." And I was like, "Yes, yes."
I will make it livable. That to me, because I've been homeless twice, that sounds like heaven.
Yeah, it was. And so the apartment belonged to a local legend here named Bronco Billy. And he did a lot of really good.
We don't know who Bronco Billy is. We all know who Bronco Billy is.
He did so many things for the community, and
he did a lot of good.
Yes.
He's a legend. Yes. He's a legend in the state of Colorado.
Yes.
Fantastic. Yes. Good for you, man. Okay.
Yes. And so, and I had everything that I needed, pots, pans, dishes. I was able to borrow all of that, and I fixed it up, and I continued on derby, and I started working at Skateland as a skate guard.
Nice.
And the first 2 years of my recovery, I just didn't leave Skateland unless it was like to go to the store or something,
Yeah.
because I was so afraid if I left, I was going to get drugs or alcohol or, and I was like, I got this on my own. And I truly didn't. I was just stuck, and I had into myself.
In that retrogressive groove that we call.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I did a lip sync contest at the theater. I got involved with the theater here and did a lip sync contest. And during that lip sync contest, there was a couple that were doing Johnny Cash and June Carter.
Okay.
And they blew everyone away. I mean, they were just amazing.
Mhm.
And so, and they caught my attention. Like, they were just mind blowing. And later on, I got hired to do a private party in New Mexico as Marilyn Monroe. And I ran into the woman that played June Carter in that lip sync. And we started talking, and she was sober too. We were like the only two sober people at the party. Yeah. And she was in AA. And so I went to lunch with her. I started to get to know her, and I finally said, will you sponsor me? And she said, are you willing to go to meetings? And I was like, if you sponsor me, I'll do it. So she did, and she's still my sponsor to this day.
Man, June Carter's your sponsor?
Isn't that awesome?
That is cool. That's a really neat story. Did that part right there, and all I heard was God. Yeah.
Well, when I first started the meetings, I used Bronco Billy as my higher power, because to me, just his mere existence ended up saving my life.
I get that. And he's an angel now. That's a power great yourself.
And I start working those steps, and all of a sudden I realized I was building a relationship with God without even realizing it.
Yeah. We're kind of sneaky in AA.
Right? Right?
Yeah, like these are only suggestions.
Yeah. Well, it is a beautiful suggestion, because it has just helped me so much. And I still, to this day, every Wednesday I go to my group and they're my family. I love them.
Yeah.
That's my people.
those and a lot of people in the program end up becoming family, because we have a lot of things that are mutual. Like your story is pretty close to mine too.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And we grew up with different places, and I wasn't in the foster system. I was in the system, just not the foster.
Well, I ended up in the system too.
but when you talk about it, I can empathize with that loneliness. I get that.
So lonely.
Yeah.
So lonely.
Sometimes and my wife hasn't said this in a while, but she's like, sometimes I wish I was an alcoholic so I could understand what you're going through. I'm like, no, take it back now. Because I don't want anybody to go through that, but I found it was for a reason.
Yes, it is. It definitely is for a reason. I ended up in and out of jail and a lot.
Okay.
And so I was in that system too. I think it was a year ago, and maybe a little bit longer, but I finally got off of all of my probation and got my driver's license all back. But it took like over 6 years.
Yeah.
It took over 6 years.
I just got my driver's license back, and it's been almost 6 years.
Yeah.
Literally on 6 years on Saturday.
Wow, good for you.
Thank you. I want to celebrate too soon, but
and it's not going to happen.
I have a feeling I'll make it. So
you will. That's awesome. That is awesome.
What other types of stuff? Like, what are you doing now? that's different in your sobriety, or that's different now for you?
Everything.
Okay.
I do. Everything. And in fact, I spend the majority of my days feeling real uncomfortable. I
Okay.
call my sponsor all the time saying,
Yeah.
how do I handle this? How do I do this? And I mean, I'm getting better,
Yeah.
but it's like everything about me has changed.
Sure.
It's crazy, and I keep changing.
Yeah. That's what's great is, well, it says um, on page 164 that if you perform his work well and keep your house clean, that great events will come to pass for you and countless others.
Yes.
And I was talking with Kara, who did a podcast last week, and we were talking about what we were talking about is sometimes when you do something, you don't realize who else is gonna affect. And that's why I love this so much. Is God always has another surprise for me around the bend, man. Always.
Oh, for real. And it was about like I used to be very anonymous. I didn't want anyone to know my story. I was very ashamed and stuff. And it was actually when COVID started.
Mm-hmm.
One of my friends in recovery reached out and said, we need more people to reach out. People are falling off the wagon, right? And we need people to step up to help. And I thought about it for a couple of days, and I couldn't live with other people falling off. Like I had to do whatever it took to try to help. And so that's how
that responsibility statement came into effect for you.
Yes.
I love it when people realize, wait a minute, they're talking about me in that statement, that I'm supposed to be. And I take it literally. It doesn't matter who the person is. If somebody's reaching out for help, I'm going to do something.
Yes. That's the key. That's been the key to my recovery is helping. And that kind of, and so if that's all right with you, that's what kind of drew me into SoCo Clubhouse.
Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about that. It's a big part of your recovery.
It is. It's a huge part. So when I started working at Skateland, this place was filled with underage kids, drugs, alcohol. It was awful. But what I saw was me. I saw me as a kid. A lot of these kids were running drugs for family members. They were living with grandparents, great grandparents. They were alone. They were acting out. And all I saw was me. And I never had kids. I didn't even really know what to do with kids. But these kids, they made me feel like I just had love for them because I understood them. And so this whole time, Skateland was actually about to shut down. So I raised the money to keep it open. And that's how I took over Skateland and became the owner.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I love it. That's awesome, man.
It's crazy. It started out with two pugs.
There's not many places for those kids to go to in Trinidad. It's one of the only places.
Yes, there's so very little for them to do here.
And now they can come in and now they're on your clock. And
and I watch over them like crazy. Like they call this the safest place in Trinidad because I don't mess around. I make sure that those kids are safe and that they have one place in the world where they can go and just not worry. They know they're safe. Yeah.
Yes, everybody, and when you were talking, there were I caught it a couple of times. A roof was put over your head before the recovery started. I know it says in the big book, despite any problems that this person has, they can get sober. And I believe that. But it is so much easier when you have a roof over your head. Because then you're not clamoring. Yeah. And even then, it takes a little while to get out of fight mode. Yeah.
Yes.
It takes a while.
Yes.
It it took me a while.
I
And
still struggle with that.
then I lived by myself.
That's how I've been, and it's
I know.
ew.
I hated it for the first 2 months. Then I loved it.
You
People
really
would
got
come
it.
over and they're like, "Oh, it's so comfortable here." I'm like, "Yeah, you can leave now."
You can leave now.
I was drinking at the time, but that's what I love. And thank you for bringing that up, because that's kind of what it's about, and it's kind of what you do. I do. I create a safe space. This is my safe space here.
Yes. Oh, and thank you.
And so I bring people in so that they can talk about the things that they need to. Because nobody comes back on my podcast, and nobody's going to listen to it just to make fun of it.
No.
This doesn't happen in this one.
No.
And it is about, for me anyway, if I have somebody that's homeless, I'm going to put a roof over their head first.
Yep.
I am.
That's what I try to do. I try to help the homeless as much as possible, just because I very much know what that is like and how hard it is. And actually, so about 2 years ago it took me 3 years to come up with the money to pay for a nonprofit.
Yeah.
So I did it, and I got my nonprofit, and so now SoCo Clubhouse is a nonprofit.
Wow, that deserves a round of applause. That is not easy to do. I've tried for mine. It was so freaking confusing. I was like, you know what? I don't write anybody receipts anyway. I'll take my $600 back. Thank you.
It is. So when you get it, that is like, whew, it was great.
That's an accomplishment. Not only just to raise the money, because I'm sorry, when it comes to I don't get many people that donate. I'd say I could count the number of people that donate on 2 hands. Because recovery, I mean, a lot of it's just too convoluted, and a lot of people don't trust and things like that. So, it does make it a little bit more difficult. But
I've had to prove myself.
Yes, that's it.
For sure.
That comes from action.
Yes. It speaks louder than words.
Yeah. You and I have a little bit when what we say carries a little bit more clout than somebody that's been in the program for a month, because you've been doing that for years. I've been doing this for years. We're consistent, and we're still here doing the same thing, that we do. And I'm going to do it for the rest of my life. This is my job. Like I said, I don't get paid much for it, but God still takes care of everything. And now I'm having people come. I talked to a guy earlier, and he's like, "You're not making any money off of that?" He's like, "We're going to have to change that." So he's out looking for sponsors for me. This is God's work, man, not mine.
Yeah. That's what, there's some things you can't put a price on.
There you go. There you go. So
that's how I feel.
With the SoCo Clubhouse, they have meetings going on there. What other kind of activities do you have?
So because of my pugs, that's why I brought them up. I do a program for kids called Pugs Not Drugs. So now the 2 that I moved here with, they've passed on, but I have 4 now that and I actually have one named Pork Chop. I call her Pug Famous, because everyone knows Pork Chop, and she's about 16 years old now. Okay. So I still have Pork Chop. She's in all the parades and everything.
Okay. But are they in roller skates?
Yes. Actually, she gets pulled in a wagon while I'm on roller skates.
She earned her time.
Yeah,
and she's famous, so she's got to be pampered.
Oh yeah, she's all glam. And then during COVID, I used that time, because I was shut down. I wasn't allowed to have people here. So I used that time to get certified in life skills and all different kinds of courses. Any course I took it. So now I'm doing life skills classes. And I also do a thing called Uprise, which is a tobacco coalition, a youth tobacco coalition. And basically the kids come after school and we get their homework done, and then we do, we do classes. I'm also doing soapbox derby, like, because we're gonna race.
You're just pulling out all the cool stuff we did as kids. Why?
Yeah.
Because it's fun. I love doing the soapbox derby, and I hated people growing up, but I always did it.
I love it. Like, so
you
I'm
get
doing
that
all that.
kit, and it comes with everything, and then you can paint it, and fun stuff.
I should have bought the kit. I thought we could do it without the kit, and I really wish we would have bought the kit.
Next time, buy the kit.
Now I know. Lesson learned. So, but so the kids here, they come during the week. I just keep about 8 to 10 of them, that I can focus on them. And and we have a very close bond. And so during the week they come after school, and then on the weekends they volunteer their time for Skateland as little skate guards. And so what
they
it is,
I love that. They
do.
Hey,
so
you
they
better watch yourself.
they
get to be the boss and understand responsibility. That's what you're doing there. I get it.
Yep, exactly. And their time at the clubhouse pays for everything they do. So the kids are earning their money by volunteering.
Yep.
And the parents aren't having to, their parents, grandparents, whoever's raising them doesn't have to pay for anything. I raise all the money so that every kid has the ability to participate no matter what.
That's fantastic. And that's exactly how it should be set up. Because the kid, the money's nice, but the parents may not have really that much money in the first place.
Yes.
But then the kid doesn't have any money, but they got to have cash in the game, man, or it doesn't work. So doing that side work it's them putting their payola in the game, man. Good.
Yep.
Yeah. Then they feel like their money's going towards something, and then they get this, and they get
Yep. And the kids are like, I'm doing this, I'm earning this, and they do. They do. They work hard. I'm proud of them.
Yeah, that place is probably spotless.
It is. It is. It's awesome. It just keeps getting better. We're redoing the floors right now.
The skate floor?
No, that is the original hardwood floor from 1942, and that's my baby.
I believe it.
I don't want to change it.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't want to change it either.
It's awesome.
For that old wood, though, is so beautiful.
It is.
You don't want to change it,
No.
And when people when we built things like that back then, it was all about hard work and doing it right. So that thing will
last. Yes.
Yeah, that thing will probably last longer than most of the other buildings.
Yep. So, it's 80 years. We're on our 80-year anniversary.
Wow. Wow. So you look good for 80.
Don't I? That's what everyone says. It's oil of Olay. No.
We're dating ourselves again. Who wears shorts? Oil of Olay. Okay. So let's hand out some information about how people can get in touch with you. Do you have and then of course, I'll be putting it in the when I post it too. But how can they get in touch with you? What's the best way?
So you can reach out on Messenger, or you can call Skateland. The phone. Do you want me to give that phone number?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's 719-846-2722. And those are probably the two best ways to reach me. I do have an email, but I'm horrible about checking it.
Okay. Yeah. So the easiest way to catch you is by calling the Skateland number.
Yes. Okay. And you can leave a message and I will call you back if I'm not here.
Yeah. Okay. If you guys are having a hard time finding her or anything, just let me know and I'll make sure that you get I'll get you set up straight to her. So if you're wanting to do some community work, here's the thing: when it comes down to what you need to be, especially in a small town like that, is you need to be accountable. And it
Yes.
sounds like this is a good place for no matter who you are. You'd be okay if somebody is in, let's say they're an addict. That's okay, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter. Recovery is recovery, and that's what you do there. You can go down there. You can help kids. Everybody likes to help the kids, man. And you can always help other people too, and contribute to something in life. Go do a soapbox, man.
Yeah,
Get off
I
your
need help.
get
So
off your soapbox and go make one.
yes. Yes, I love
Yeah,
that.
you can steal that if you want.
I'm going to. Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, Jamie, I don't know. I think we did way too much laughing on this one. I've had a really enjoyable time talking to you, and if you ever want to come back on, if something, you have an event coming up, anything like that, let me know. How far is Trinidad from Colorado Springs?
It's only probably like an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Okay,
It's not
all
too
right.
bad.
Okay, yeah. In Colorado, it's a 45-minute drive anywhere usually. So yeah, an hour to us, we're like, oh, okay, that's not a problem.
Yeah,
Everybody else like an hour.
nothing.
So, all right. Any words of wisdom? Any thoughts that we could leave our people on?
Just don't ever be afraid to reach out, and don't ever feel
Okay.
like you're alone. Because you're not alone.
There you
You're not
go.
alone.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great way to wrap it up is, you know, if you're out there and you're listening to this and you don't feel and you feel like you're alone in it, know that there's other people out there that feel the same loneliness. And that's why storytelling is so important. It brings
Yes.
hope. It brings
Amen.
hope to people. Thank you very much for being on. Again, I appreciate you taking your time coming on and spending some time with me.
Thank you.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
pleasure. You are
Uh,
awesome.
thank you. For my listeners out there, this has been Raw Recovery, a Trudging Together podcast. I love you all. Peace out and have a day.